Christmas on its holiday cups and is now being stifled or stifling itself from doing so. In the past 6 years, Starbucks, which doesn't identify itself as a Christian company, has never put the words Merry Christmas on its holiday cups. Instead, it's used wintry and vaguely holiday-esque imagery and language, including ornaments that say things like joy or hope, snowmen, and holly. So literally, we can show what Fierstein said is not true, but outrage overwhelms truth. I saw some people defending Fierstein by pointing out that there were other things that Starbucks did, or that there were bigger issues at play. I'd ground my daughters for responding to facts with such misdirection. But the outrage of the culture overwhelms the truth of the moment, and when it does, it hurts our witness. You'd think that someone had broken into churches and desecrated the altars if you looked at some Facebook feeds. And of course, the news reports said everyone was outraged, but I think it was Fierstein and a few friends. And that's really all it was. Starbucks never put Jesus or Christmas on their cups. They once had snowmen and some trees before going to plain red. So Starbucks hates Jesus because they now have cups without snowflakes? These kinds of controversies are so frustrating. This was a foolish fight on a nonsensical issue. When outraged Christians feed media outlets with stories that make Christians look foolish, that hurts the gospel. It adds to the perception that Christians are rage-addicted snowflakes and, more important, distracts Christians from their mission. That's what fake controversies and unwarranted anger do. No, Starbucks did not hate Jesus. But some folks sure seem to enjoy embarrassing his followers. And by the way, Starbucks employees were never told they could not say Merry Christmas. But that's not their job anyway. That's our job. It's the Christian's job to tell people about Jesus, not the barista who may be Jewish, secular, or whatever. Don't get outraged at things that don't matter. Outrage toward Christians. Yet outrage can just as easily be directed toward Christians by a hostile world intent on shaming and attacking rather than engaging. In early 2018, the online publication Pitchfork turned out this clickbaiting headline: Coachella co-owner's latest charitable filing shows deep anti-LGBTQ ties. Coachella is a music festival that is connected to AEG, an entertainment company owned by Philip Anschutz, who is an evangelical Christian. The story listed 5 of the deep anti-LGBTQ organizations: the Navigators, Dare to Share Ministries, the Center for Urban Renewal and Education, Movie Guide Awards, and Young Life. The biggest gift among these was to Young Life, $185,000 June 21 and November 15, 2016, which was pilloried for their policy that anyone sexually active outside of a heterosexual marriage relationship shouldn't work or volunteer for the organization. In other words, Young Life holds the traditional view of marriage that has been a foundational component of Christian theology for centuries and is held today by most evangelical, as well as Roman Catholic, Orthodox, and other organizations. Even so, the publication made no attempts at dialogue, gave no empathy or consideration as to why these views are important or nuanced, just blanket insults aimed at provoking division. Outrage has no time for dialogue, and it won't be distracted by nuance or even truth. Get the pitchforks, Pitchfork. Why this outrageous book? This is a book about outrage. It's an acknowledgement that our world, or at least our part of it, seems awash in anger, division, and hostility. Outrage is all around, so we have to decide how to walk through this. We are living in a day, and this is indeed our moment, when we need to live like Christ, as gospel Christians in the midst of shouting, anger, and hatred. And it's going to get worse. To be sure, there is a lot in this world that is outrage-inducing: terrorism, sex trafficking and exploitation, systemic racism, illegal immigration, child poverty, opioid addiction, and the list goes on. These issues deserve a measure of outrage, don't they? They certainly deserve our anger. And this is part of the problem. What do we do when the anger becomes too much? When our righteous indignation at injustice morphs into something completely different? How do we know when righteous anger has made the turn into unbridled